It's my feel-good breakfast show.
A very good morning to you and welcome back to your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso on SABC3. Unlike Nick would had you believe that. No, we don't do that. Okay, anyway, it's time for some...
But we choose not to, okay?
It's time for some parenting talk right now. Now, there are a few topics that parents seldom have the desire to broach with their teenage children, with dating usually being one of them. But just how beneficial could it be to have that frank conversation on dating with your eager high schooler? And what should they know exactly? Well, parenting coach Laura Markovitz joins us this morning to share some of her wisdom. And as always, we appreciate having you here, Laura.
It's good to be here.
You've thrown some interesting topics our way, girl. So first off, oh man, no one's ready. No one is ready to talk about the dating, with especially a daughter. And look, please, with all due respect, we're going to poke a lot of fun at this. That's our nervous laughter, because we're trying to broach something that is quite uncomfortable. Is this one of the toughest conversations that you can have with your teenager, guys and girls? And why is it so tough?
So I think for a lot of parents, and you said especially our daughters, and I think just to start there, not just especially our daughters, I think so important to be having it with our sons and our daughters equally, that this is an important conversation to be having. And I think for a lot of parents, you know, we're sort of laughing, and the nervousness that's there is because it brings up a lot of stuff for parents. You know, what was our experience of early dating or early relationships? Worries about our kids suddenly becoming from these children, and then they're connecting with other people in another kind of way, in a more intimate way. So there are worries that come about. It's also control factors, heartbreak. I don't want my child's heart to be broken. What am I going to do? So there are a lot of worries that are there. The heartbreak
is real.
Yeah.
And it's real, and it's intense when it happens. But I think what's also important for parents to know is that it can be great. It's an exciting time where this is the time where kids are learning how to relate to other people, how to be treated, how they deserve to be treated, and how they should be treating others. So it can be a really good exploratory time where they're laying the groundwork for future, future relationships out there.
Tell me this: when are teenagers actually ready to be in a relationship as we understand it?
So I think we can...
When you say understand it, or what is the
relationships as we
I think we can ask that question of when are some adults ready to be in relationships too? And, you know, it's kind of the million-dollar question. Is there this moment? So I'm going to turn 15. I'm ready to take on relationships. And unfortunately, as we know, life is not so neat and tidy. So, and we'd like it if we were handed the rule book and said, okay, my 13-year-old is not ready, but my 16-year-old is ready. The reality is it's really important to treat our kids as individuals. They have differing levels of maturity. So I might have a 15-year-old who is nowhere near ready to be dating or being more intimate with someone. So we've got to look at who they are. And also we've got to think of what is it? What is this dating thing? You know, it can range from anything from 13-year-olds hanging out as a group and kind of liking someone to something absolutely more intimate with 18-year-olds. So it's a very different realm. And we've got to look at that more openly. Absolutely, from holding hands and being in a group.
Completely, and like, you know, that romance, love, these things, our notion of when does love drift out of the platonic, we're best mates and we've been hanging out together forever, into that, hang on a minute, I'm actually falling in love with you. And do we even understand? It's very complex. Just like adult relationships are very complex things. But I would imagine that a lot of teenagers are listening very carefully right now, and a lot of adults hopefully are listening as well. Parents, we are speaking directly to you to hopefully give you some advice. There are no hard and set rules when it comes to dating, but we're starting the conversation.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be celebrating birthdays shortly after a break, and then we'll also continue our conversation with parenting coach Laura Markovitz. Stay tuned to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. We will be right back.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Oh, welcome back. You're live with Expresso, sitting with Laura, Kat and Graham, having a wonderful discussion. It's actually turning into something really interesting. Earlier in the show, our certified parenting coach, Laura Markovitz, she shared her thoughts on why it's important for parents, almost essential for parents, to talk to their high school children in particular about dating. And we're continuing that conversation with Laura right now. Interesting times.
So, Laura, just how important is it that, because I mean, we talk about dating, right? But early on in the break, you were talking about how parents don't have the conversation about what a healthy relationship looks like. Never mind dating, never mind anything. Relationship.
And I think that conversation starts happening a lot earlier than high school. That's what they are seeing, that's what we're witnessing, whether it's in our own home, through friends, through the media, in movies, that we are looking at, bless you, at how relationships are working.
Excuse me, thank you.
Let's talk of relationships.
You can see it's making me a little bit nervous, guys. It's going on, my body's reacting.
So important to be having this conversation and helping kids differentiate healthy from unhealthy love. And we get so focused on talking about, when should I talk to them about puberty? When should I talk to them about sex? But actually, what it looks like to have a healthy relationship and what is that about? So things like making them aware of not being in something that is so terribly intense that it starts to isolate you from your friends. When there's intense jealousy, when it's a very volatile relationship, things that are isolating you, things that are affecting who you are as a person, your own identity, of if you are seeing yourself, seeing your child change through a relationship completely. Those are things that we need to be teaching them to be aware of. We need to teach them how they deserve to be treated, how they should be treated, and how they should be treating others. So this is a long-term thing. We also need to let them know that relationships aren't easy. So it's not always going to be love and butterflies in your tummy.
If they live in the same house as you, they're probably going to know that relationships aren't easy.
And that's an important thing to know, that they're hard work, that we've actually got to get through some of the conflict, some of the hard times, that it's not always going to be absolutely amazing and love, but it's got to be some of the time at least that it feels good and that it's helping us grow and develop as people.
Making you a better person, yeah. But I think that, you know, on one side you look at it as this prohibitive, controlling thing that you've got to talk to them about dating so you can lock it down, but it's actually unlocking good relationships, a better life for them, a better future. But that being said, you want to kind of have ground rules. Do you set rules with dating when you're kind of having this conversation? Say, okay, it's fine, you can start dating, you're mature enough, but curfew, no hand-holding, da-da-da. How do you approach the practicality? So
absolutely, you know, as we said earlier, we've got to look at the maturity of the child, we've got to look at their age. I mean, we're not saying, you know, here's a 12-year-old, go out with an 18-year-old and off you go, cheers, happy days. So absolutely, we've got to be looking with anything that we're dealing with our kids. We've got to have a healthy set of boundaries. So absolutely, things like curfews, things like, well, you're not going to spend every single minute with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Things like, also come to our house, you're not only going to be away. Things like, how's your work going? How's schoolwork? So these are things that we need to be collaboratively talking to our kids about it. I think often, as we talk about most things on the show, it's not about us sitting there and absolutely dictating and going extremely authoritarian on our kids. So they probably
have exactly the opposite result.
Exactly, it's going to push them away. So be collaborative, be open to what they're going through, and think about what healthy and appropriate boundaries are for them. That includes them so that they can be having a healthy relationship and talking to us about it when it does get tough as well.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. They must be able to talk to you as much as you are.
We want them to be coming to us.
I think the ultimate takeout from this conversation for me is about talking about a healthy and unhealthy relationship, because that opens up the door to so many other aspects of life, and especially to conversation with you and your children. So parents out there, we hope that you found this enlightening, and kids, good luck.
Hang in there.